All right, again, starting over here, and this is the French cask smooth. The Wars. These three actually came in a little set. Not even familiar with the brand too much, but let's try it. Not too much bite with that. Um, it's pretty smooth going down, not too much bite. There's a little bit of bitterness that I'm not feeling. And there's also uh, a slight smokiness to the flavor of that one. And let me tell you a little bit about the process I'm going through here. So I did rinse out my glass, rinsed off my rocks. In between, just a little sip of coffee, just to balance out my taste buds. Followed by a little water. Again, just trying to be as fair as possible. As we move on to the next one, I've already poured it in there. Again, this is the Caribbean Smooth Award. It's a blended Scotch whiskey again. See if it tastes kind of similar to what we had just now. You do notice the difference. There's less of that bite at the end of this one. It's actually a good bit more smoother, and there's not that hint of smokiness. Again, it's decent. All right, now we're moving on to my final little taster here. This is a Japanese Smooth, the Wars. This is another blended Scotch whiskey. It says it has a Mizuno oak cask finish. So I'm not sure about that word. This one had a rum cask finish. And here we have an apple brandy cask finish. So let's see what we get out of that. Yeah, that one's much different. Not really sure what I'm getting there, but it is a good bit different from what we had with the other two. Wow. Really makes me wonder about the finish on this. It's interesting. Aged 8 years. Like all of them are aged the same amount of time. So all of them aged 8 years. All of them say they're products of Scotland, despite one saying French cask, Caribbean Smooth, and then the Japanese. So I'm guessing it's about the barrel that they're finishing them in. Kind of brings out those differences. And now we're on to my personal favorite. This is Elijah Craig, small batch. Elijah Craig makes a few different versions. I usually go for the 94 proof. But this is the Elijah Craig Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
Downy Unstoppables with odor blocker to keep you fresh.
So yeah, that Elijah Craig has a good bit more flavor, I'm gonna say, than we're getting out of these other whiskeys. Again, this is a Kentucky bourbon whiskey. These are kind of a Scottish-based Irish whiskeys. But yeah, this is definitely still my favorite. This is kind of my go-to, followed by either of these Uncle Nearest. I found them really similar. This one here I most of the time use when I'm mixing with drinks. The other one, this is my sipping type of whiskey bourbon. This is what I bring to the party. All right, like I said, let's move on to the first Uncle Nearest. This first one is the 1856. A little bit, I think it's aged a little bit longer. I've never really looked up the differences between the two. There is a slight price difference between the two, if that counts for anything. But this is the first one, the 1856 here. And it's interesting because the difference between this and Elijah Craig kind of fits somewhere in the middle between what we would consider these little Scottish whiskeys over here. This one is definitely the smoothest, so you're not getting very much bite at all. I'm gonna tell you straight up, you try to do this Jameson over there, you're gonna feel that bite in the Jameson. This one here, extra smooth. Almost to the point of a good cognac smooth. But there's no real bite, there's no real burn going down. You're getting more of a caramel note with this one. You do get the oakiness of those barrels, but trust me, you can't go wrong with that one. All right, on to the Uncle Nearest 1884. Again, as you can see, this is my go-to. Any mixed drink I make, if I'm making whiskey sours, pretty much anything, I'm going the Uncle Nearest for that. Even for sipping sometimes. Like I said, it's a little bit more reasonable. The price difference really isn't that big between the two of them. But as you can see, it is my go-to. Kind of save this for when I want to give some people, something decent to drink if they're a whiskey or a bourbon fan. There is a different flavor there. You're actually going to get a little bit more of that caramel on this one. Almost a saltiness to the caramel, almost like you're doing a toffee with this one, where this one has a more richer finish to it. You're really going to get that woodiness that you get. People that smoke meats know the difference between their woods and if they're using pellets. You get a different flavor. That's kind of the subtle differences. And I really just think it's the aging of these two. I'm guessing this one's aged a little bit longer in those barrels, so you are getting more of that flavor. Whereas this one's probably a little bit more sugar heavy because they haven't set there and fermented as long. So it's the only thing I can figure out. Both of them are still extra smooth, a lot smoother than what you're going to get over here. Again, Elijah Craig's still going to give you more flavor, more notes. It's the smoothness, it's probably right here. This one just goes down extra smooth. Now on to Buffalo Trace. Now you're probably wondering, what the heck am I doing with this Buffalo Trace in my cabinet? Be honest with you, brought it to a party. Guys was like, hey, bring some whiskey. And, you always hear about Buffalo Trace whiskey. Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, big commercial whiskey. So it's decent. There's a richness to it, a smoothness to it. It gives a little bit more tongue feel than you're going to get with the rest of these. There is a little slight burn. It tastes like whiskey. It's not Jack Daniels, but it definitely tastes like what you're going to get from a Kentucky, bourbon style straight bourbon whiskey. And I understand why people like it. It's just not going to be my favorite because you do get that little a little burn at the end of drinking something like this. And on to my biggest commercial whiskey here, Jameson. Jameson is one of the ones you see in pretty much all the commercials. I mean, you're going to see this stuff everywhere. It's usually not the triple. Everybody does the normal Jameson when they reach for kind of an Irish whiskey. Like, why do I have Jameson? It was really to make certain cocktails that called for an Irish whiskey. That's really the only reason. Sorry about that. It's the only reason it's in there. I'm not the biggest fan. Oh, goodness. Should I edit that out? Nah, we'll leave it in. We just did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 half-ounce. These are, I'm hoping it's half-ounce pours. So about 4 regular shots. No, not even regular shots. Because a shot is supposed to be 1.5 ounces. So if you go to the bar and they're telling you this is a shot, that 1 ounce, that is not a shot. Here you see the shot, which is 1.5. So basically both sides of this equals your normal shot glass. Don't let them give you those little 1 ounce pours. Get your little extra half ounce in there. And I took a little bit of extra time to aerate this one because I knew I was going to get that bite at the end. Now, so this is bourbon, sherry, and chestnut cask. So all your nice wines. I think that's what makes it Irish, but it says velvet notes of toffee, cacao, and toasted almond with an extra drop of smoothness. I don't know about that extra drop of smoothness. Again, like I said, if you need the smoothness, go for the Uncle Nearest. If you want the flavor, this is really in a separate class from everything but this one. So these two, basically a separate class. They're kind of an elevated whiskey. You don't really compare these to your Jack Daniels, your Gentleman Jacks, or your closest thing you're gonna get is Maker's Mark, and still, it's not the same. So if you have someone that doesn't drink whiskey and you want to introduce them to some of the really good whiskey drinks, whiskey old fashioned, something like that, try to start here. Elijah Craig or Uncle Nearest. That's all I can say. Thanks for watching. And like, subscribe, share. Dad Life will be, and I'm out of here.